Remember last year when I made a video about the Deity PR2? I bought 2 of them with my own money after I sold my Tentacle Sync E's. The Deity PR2s were really good, but I found that I have a little bit of a different set of needs that the Deity didn't fully match. So after looking at a lot of the recent reviews that came out with the Hollyland, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, but it seems like it's gonna be a good mic, and I was right. This is something that helps me a lot in my workflow for many reasons. So I'm going to be telling you about all the things that I liked about it during the 6 or 7 shoots that I was on where I used it, and how they compare to the Deity. So right now I have actually 2 mics set up, one of them with just the actual transmitter itself, and one of them where the transmitter is hooked up to the lavalier mic that comes with the Hollyland set. And I just want to, give an idea of what both of them sound like outside of my shirt. Now granted, usually this is not how I'm going to use the lav mics. If I'm doing a corporate shoot where it's professional and I'm doing interviews for a client, I'm going to be using the lavalier microphone, and I would be taping it inside of the shirt using the Timecode stickies so that it's fully hidden. But I just wanted to keep this comparison as simple and even as possible between them. Now, just a little bit of a backstory. The reason why I had the Deities and the Tentacle Sync E's to begin with was that they recorded 32-bit float, and they let you monitor the audio via Bluetooth with your phone. So you could just have your phone open, hook up a headphone to it, or even AirPods, and you can listen. However, because it was via Bluetooth, there was like at least a 1-second delay. So when I'm listening to someone, I'm listening to 2 voices that are delayed by a second. One voice is the real life voice that I'm hearing because I'm sitting close to the subject, and the other one is in my ear with a 1-second delay, and that was really annoying. So I wanted something preferably that would transmit a signal to the camera so that 1, I can monitor it without that delay, and 2, if the levels are set correctly, I wouldn't have to sync in post the 32-bit float files with the camera audio, because that's just an added step. And again, if the levels were set correctly in camera, then I have no reason to copy and sync the 32-bit files from the recorder itself. However, I still do have that option. Right now, as I'm recording on these Hollylands, I'm also recording internally to the transmitters in 32-bit float in case I need that backup. And I actually got the kit that comes with these little earbuds that directly connect to the lav receiver. Right when you open it and put it in your ear, it connects and you can monitor with no delay. And I think that setup is everything that I need. Now on top of that, the Hollyland is so affordable, at least here in Canada, where after selling the 2 Deities that I own, I was still able to buy the Hollyland and save $75 Canadian after taxes. So that's the kind of the overall reason for why I switched to these mics. But now I'm going to get into more detail about some of the things I like and some of the things that I don't like as a run and gun videographer and documentary filmmaker. So some of the things that I really like. This is a really small transmitter. Like, we're talking super small. Even when you add the little adapter to it that lets you connect the 3.5mm lavalier mic, it's still a really tiny mic. And not only is it easy to buckle it to a pocket or a belt, but it's also really easy to just put it in your pocket because it's so tiny. So when it comes to quick usability and ease of use, it's perfect. I've also found that sometimes when I want to quickly lav someone up at an event, with the Deity, I had to resort to giving them the lavalier mic, telling them to drop it down their shirt, put it out the other side, let me connect it, put the Deity in their pocket, all that kind of stuff. But with this, if I don't want to use the lavalier mic, I could just give them the receiver and they could just clip it on their shirt. And you don't have to clip it this way. You can actually clip it the other way where the actual transmitter goes inside, and clip it this way so that you only have a small little thing here that shows. When it comes to interviews, when it comes to documentary work, I'm not going to be doing that. What I will be doing, like I said, is putting these lavs under their shirt via a Timecode sticker. But when it comes to off-the-cuff interviews at corporate events, or where somebody is speaking at a podium far away from the camera, and maybe they're wearing a suit or a blazer, you can very easily hide this right in their collar or in their pocket somewhere. Even if you do see it, you're only going to see a small little clip-on, and it's just way less intrusive than the other mics that I've seen. Another thing I really like is the receiver itself. It's easy to use. It has one big dial where as soon as you start to turn it, it automatically starts to change the levels, and then you could just tap on which mic you want to change the levels on. It's also really small and nimble, so I've found that no matter where I mount it on the camera, it always feels like it's not obstructive, it's not big in a way where it's blocking other ports or anything else, at least on my FX3 with my Tilta cage. Now, another thing that I was kind of worried about as a Deity and Tentacle E user was timecode. I thought, you know what, I really needed a lav that has built-in internal timecode and all that kind of stuff, and that would still be helpful. But the thing is, I was only buying into these lavs in the hopes of one day upgrading into their ecosystems and buying timecode boxes. But the thing is that I realized is I can still use these timecode boxes with this lav setup. So I'm going to give you an example. Right now on my FX3, I'm working with the top handle, and on the top handle I have a Sennheiser MKE 600 boom mic connected via XLR, giving me a stereo input of left and right, each gain set to a different level so that I can recover the audio if needed. And then I also have the Hollyland connected to the 3.5mm jack of that top handle, also giving me a stereo of both lavalier mics. Now, if I wanted timecode on this entire setup, all that I would need to do is have a timecode box from Deity, Tentacle, or anything else, mount it somewhere on the rig, and connect it directly to the FX3 via the timecode USB cable. So I realized it wasn't like a necessity to have timecode built into the lavalier itself, and because the audio is all being transmitted into the camera, then I don't really have to worry about all of the standalone transmitters also having timecode, which they do, by the way. I actually haven't really looked into how the internal timecode system works in the Hollyland receiver and transmitters, because I've never really needed it anyway. The majority of my shoots, I only have 2 cameras, 3 cameras tops, and they're all in one location with really good scratch audio, so I've always been able to easily sync everything via audio. But if I'm ever in a higher end environment where there's more than 3 cameras, maybe they don't have great scratch audio, maybe there's multiple audio sources that are not connected to the camera, in that case, usually I have an audio person that's working alongside me, and a lot of the times they just give me their own timecode boxes. They have everything set up for me, and they're like, hey, can you just mount this timecode box to your camera? And I'm like, yep, I take it, mount it, connect it directly to my FX3, and everything is there. But if there is an audio person, I'm likely not going to be using my own lavs as well. They're probably going to have their own setup. So for my smaller shoots where I'm one-man banding everything, audio, shotgun mic, lavs, and a couple of cameras, I don't need an elaborate timecode setup because the shoot is quite simple and I never have problems with just syncing via sound. Now here's a few things that I don't like about the microphone. The first thing is, when it comes to the internal 32-bit recordings of the transmitters, for some reason they split the audio files into multiple files if your recording goes beyond a certain limit. Though I'm not sure what the length is. I'm probably going to put it as a text in the video later on, but essentially I've noticed that once the file reaches around 350 megabytes or so, it gets split into multiple files. Now I think it does that for safety, because if something happens to the transmitter while it's recording a file, that file can get corrupted. But if you're recording in multiple files, let's say for 3-4 hours, and then the transmitter stops working for whatever reason, you'll at least have a bunch of files that were already saved in the internal storage. They were recorded and written. So I think the reason they're doing that is out of safety. One of the other things I don't like about the receiver, and I don't know if this is the problem with the receiver itself or if it's a different kind of issue with the hot shoe mounts that I have, but basically I found that on some hot shoe mounts, like the camera hot shoe, the native FX3 and A7IV hot shoes, the receiver goes in perfectly. It's snug, it fits in a little bit tightly, but it's secure and nice. But on other hot shoe mounts, like on the small rig cage that I have on the A7IV, or even on my Tilta cage, some of the hot shoe mounts work the same way and they're great, and some of them are just really loose and they don't fit properly. I don't know if it's because of the size of the receiver, the hot shoe mount thing of the receiver itself, or maybe it's because these cages are just not designed well, or maybe they're using a slightly bigger hot shoe mount to allow you to use like a locking one. So maybe it would have been nice to have a little bit of a locking mechanism on the receiver itself, in case you run into those issues. One more thing that I'm not quite fond of is that there is no locking pin or locking mechanism on the 3.5mm jack that you can insert into the transmitter itself. However, while it would be nice to have, I will admit the jack itself is kind of pretty secure. Doesn't feel like you can easily yank the microphone out. And also there is kind of like a way that you can feed the wire in like this around the mic and then clip the thing on it so that it kind of stops it from tugging on it. I don't know if you can see this, but it also shows it in the manual. Also, the mic is so small and easy to clip and hide that I just haven't ran into any issues where it felt like the mic is going to be tugging on the transmitter. So I found one more issue with the lavalier microphones that come with the Hollyland as opposed to the one that comes with the Tentacle, or especially the Deity one, which I think was the best lav mic that came with the recorder set. Here's what I didn't like about the Hollyland lavalier mic. It's just really, really thick, like the actual lavalier mic thickness. But yeah, essentially this lav mic takes up quite a bit of space in that right coat sticky, whereas with the Deity one, as you can see, it's way smaller and skinnier. So if that's something that matters to you, you might not want to get this set, or you might just want to get the set that comes with the transmitters, save a bit of money, and then buy your own lavalier microphones. Like even this Rode lav mic that I had from a few years ago, I think I bought it at the time for about $100. And here, as you can see, the difference in thinness and size is quite, this is the Rode one, this is the Hollyland. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, here I am outside in a place where there is a bit of reverb and sound pollution. So I'm actually in my balcony right now, and in here it feels like there's a little bit of weird reverb where I am, but there's also a whole lot of outside noises. I'm actually right behind Canadian Tire, so there's like a lot of vents and weird machine noises going on. There's also cars in the background and a little bit of wind. So I just wanted to be in an environment where, you know, this is like replicating real life. Sometimes a lot of the events that I shoot happen outside, or if I'm doing off-the-cuff interviews, there's a bunch of stuff going on around me. While I'm here, I also just wanted to mention this lavalier system, the receiver, has an option to do AI noise reduction. I like to have as much control as possible over my files. So generally, I'm going to keep that completely turned off. Since we're in a non-optimal environment right now, I do want to give it a try just to show you what it looks like. So here it is with 12 decibel noise cancellation. And I don't know, does this sound better? Are the background noises gone? And more importantly, is my voice changed in an unnatural way? Can you tell that there's denoising happening? Did it change the pitch or the frequencies of my voice, bass-wise, high frequency-wise, whatever? For the most part, I'm probably not going to use this. One other thing that I wanted to mention, be careful which pack you buy, because I've seen online on Amazon and B&H and all that stuff, not every pack you find actually comes with the lavalier mics. In fact, I've noticed the only pack that does come with these lavalier mics is the one that's called the Ultimate Combo, where it comes with 2 transmitters and the headphones, the earbuds for monitoring. That pack is the one that also comes with 2 lavs. But there are multiple other packs, like there's the 4 transmitter pack. There is a pack that comes with 4 of these transmitters. That does not come with lavalier microphones. And it also doesn't come with this, the monitoring earbuds. And wherever you're viewing that pack, there's usually a photo that shows you all of the items included in this pack. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention in regards to how these compare to the Deity. The Deity had AA batteries. Now, while that's a little bit inconvenient when it comes to having to buy more AA's as you use them, or you have to use rechargeable AA's and then you have to recharge those, It's a little bit inconvenient, but the fact that you can change batteries if your lav dies is a pretty good feature. Now with these, the batteries are internal. So theoretically, you know, if your battery life dies in the middle of a shoot, you kind of have to just charge this and then use it. You can't change the battery. Now the thing is, I have never ran into that situation in all of the 7 shoots that I used it on, because every time you put it in the case, it's charging to 100. And by the time I open it, it's at 100%, and then you have like 8 or 10 hours of battery life, and I'm never doing an 8 or 10 hour straight recording of anybody. So I don't think it's ever gonna be a problem for me, but it is something to keep in mind if that matters.